You know me, always right on time. It's such a great Monday. We're going to start out with the theme song for the Annulment Industrial Complex, and then talk about the lyrics a little bit, and then get into the meat of the thing. And you get your questions ready because we need some callers. You know what I'm saying? Hit it. Hit it. All right, I hope you guys turn that super loud, okay? Because it's kind of cool. However, oh shoot. At any rate, there's a lot of people have covered this Devo song, and I was kind of looking. I used to really like Devo and stuff, and I was looking at the lyrics, and I got to get these guys off my screen because we don't want any more "I Hate God," okay? But we'll listen to them in the background a little bit. The lyrics in this song are obviously they're just so descriptive of what's going on with the annulments. The gates of steel. Let me look at it. Let me shut these dudes off. Got it. The enemies of marriage are the ones promoting these annulments because of the separation of the contract from the sacrament. And I use that phrase, enemies of marriage, straight from Casti Connubii 78. So I suppose it's not a leap to the people who hate God or the enemies of marriage. It's going to be close. They're going to be related. Okay. All right, yeah, New England Anteater, you can't use any bad words. That is right. Get that out of here. I'm going to put everything, all the comments, by the way, are going to stay with the video. I'm not going to delete anything, okay? But let's listen. Let me find you some of these lyrics to this song real quick, and then we'll, like I said, we'll get into the meat of the gig. Cool? And you got it. Like I said, what we're counting on is some of you to not be shy and show up with your comments and questions. Look. Twisting away the gates of steel, that would be like, oh, I don't know, God's truth, as in what people think is imposed by the old dead white man. Unlock the secret voice, that would be the occult stuff, okay? Give in to ancient noise, yes, more occult stuff. Take a chance on a brand new dance, yes. We need to find new ways to get rid of these gates of steel, which are the divorce laws, all right? Notice there's no more sixth precept of the church talked about, keep holy the marriage laws, or keep the marriage laws. Okay, gates of steel, twist away, twist and shout. The earth moves too slow, the earth is all we know. Yeah, okay, as in evolution, as in the earth is moving, okay, because the Bible doesn't say it is. And the earth is all we know. We don't know truth, we don't know the Bible, we just know nature. Play the human way. Twist away the gates. Okay, yeah, so humans, number one, not necessarily God's truth. A man is real, not made of steel. That's all about my lived experience. It's not just about what's true, but we need to be pastoral with things. And that'll touch into what Pope Leo was talking about with his new and improved, what do you call it? He gave a talk to not the Rota, but the people working with the Rota, okay? Okay, play the human way, twist away the gates of steel, everything now. Okay, yeah, here. The ape regards his tail, he's stuck on it. I guess he can't get away from the fact that he thinks he evolved. And if evolution is true, then we need to twist away the gates of steel, as in truth about marriage, because it's hampering us. All this natural law, right, Craig Onan? I see you in the comments. Oh, wait, I'm going to see if I can show the comments on stage. Anyway, that's right. Okay, half a goon and half a god. So he has ration, but he's still kind of rational, but he's still an animal. So Therefore, we can use contraception, or we can figure out how to get away, to twist away a man. Okay, a man is not made of steel. Okay? Not made of steel. So it's not about truth. You have to go with the religion of the, what do you call it? Evolution. Earth moved too slow, but the Earth is all we know. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, a man is real. That's how he feels. Again, all this stuff about subjective love. I feel like my marriage is invalid, therefore I'm going to blow out of it. Okay, so because I feel this, and because everyone, all the 20-something different satanic bands that have covered this song know that it's about human over God. And that's what the annulments are today. And Pope Leo is going to try to thread the needle with this stuff. Okay. And I thought I thought I'd just do this live stream. I was hoping to get somebody to call in. You can see the link. I'll put it again. Here it is. Craig, can you tell that I am being fake? Hang on a sec. Craig, do I seem like I'm not in touch with my feelings? Am I being artificial right now? Is this all, do I need to like stop being so narcissistic and get real? Is that what's going on here? Maybe you can help me. I need to hold my hand. Okay. Now then, let's look at, I got way more than we can possibly get to, but I'm going to do what I can. All right. Transparent. Okay, look, let me find this link again. I think I pinned it to the top. Where is it? How do you find the invite friends? There, copy. Check. Roger, here. There it is, kids. Shy you will not be. Now, transparent. Yeah, I guess I am. You can I don't got nothing to hide, really. Try not to anyway. We'll go through this, and then I have all these really cool Michael Knowles videos and some other things. But duty calls, and my customers might start showing up after a bit. So what's all this about Pope Leo anyway? What did he say? Morning, Steve. Yeah, said not only do I want to be like you, but I just thought I would try it. Because Sunday night there's people in Ireland that want to call in and they can't do it and stuff like that. Okay. All right. So, buenos dias, he says. Pope Leo, what has he got to say? I basically what he's trying to say is let's keep annulment safe, legal, and rare. Okay. And he's saying we have to be pastoral about this. So we have strong feelings. All these people who want to twist away the gates of steel because a man is real. That's how he feels. And we got to stick with the law. We have to keep the gates of steel. So how do we thread that needle? And the answer is you can't. But they're going to try. They're going to try to keep the lid on things just a little bit more, okay? All right. What does he say? I particularly like to mention to you the first concerning the sacred power exercise in ecclesial judicial process for the service of truth. And the second regarding the object of the process. The mystery of the conjugal covenant. That's a problem. See, they use this language, okay? The object of the process. The object is the mystery of the conjugal covenant, as in this love bond created as a mystery, and we just have to do what we can. This is the way that they can say, well, there's not much objective to deal with, so we're going to try to save as much face as possible. Every faithful person, every family, every community needs truth about their ecclesiastical situation. Yeah, that's right. In order to walk well the path of faith and charity, as in order to live your state in life. That's right. The truth about personal and community rights. So the truth about those rights is that Pope Leo can't articulate what they are because he says good of the spouses is a right which can't be defined, which is why the Code of Canon Law says that the commentary on the new code says we can't even define the rights. So here's the problem right here, and that reminds me of this Michael Knowles video where he talks about the Zoomers, or why They want something different than the boomer generation that divorced. Hang on a second. John, don't you ever worry that the super defined rigid path is problematic and Vatican II is getting back to basics? No, I never worry about that because God said every piece of the law must be preserved and doesn't go anywhere. So rigidity is good when you have truth. That's what you want. You don't want fluid truth like Stanford Nutting, who wants it, liquidy jello. Cruel. So Vatican II was trying to take truth and make it nondescript. And they used it vague so that they could do something with it later. That's what Schillebeek said and that kind of stuff. To answer your question, a woman marries a man and hides the fact that she's infertile from a hysterectomy. He doesn't find out until after the marriage. Don't you believe the marriage is invalid and needs annulment? Okay. Well, and hides the fact. Yeah, I would say so. If she got the hysterectomy to become sterile or she got it for some other reason is irrelevant at this point because he, as long as he would not have married her had he known that. I mean, I don't think I would have married my wife if I knew she had a history. I would have said, can't. I wouldn't have done it. But if I found out later. So yeah, that kind of stuff, those annulments always existed. But it's very rare that kind of ever. That's why there was 4 annulments like worldwide in 1900. Okay. And then it turned to 80,000 in the USA alone at some point later. That's not the kind of annulments we're talking about. We're talking about when you add love to the mix, therefore anyone gets the annulment that they want. Let me see if I can find the correct Michael video, or the correct Michael Knowles video. I think it's this one. Just for kicks, we'll watch it, okay? Let's see what he says. Hang on. Here we go.
Ultimately, that's not going to work. Ultimately, you have to wield the political order. And so if the political order encourages divorce and discourages marriage, as it currently does, and the political order now, in fact, has abolished marriage practically by redefining it through Obergefell, then you're going to get less marriage and you're going to get more divorce. Or you're going to get a lot of divorce, at least. The trends will go up and down. But if you have a political order that encourages marriage and discourages divorce, then you can get more marriage and less divorce. That's how it works. I've talked about the Knowles Prenup. Knowles Prenup, it says, before you get married, you sign it. It says, whichever party institutes or initiates the divorce forfeits everything.
Hear what he says? Law manipulates outcomes. Exactly right. So if you... let's listen to his prenup again one more time. Hold on.
I've talked about the Knowles Prenup. Knowles Prenup, it says, before you get married, you sign it. It says, whichever party institutes or initiates the divorce forfeits everything. I like this in principle, but probably in most cases it would not work.
What he said is exactly the Catholic position. Whoever divorces forfeits everything, because divorce is always grave sin in every instance in the United States, because separation is always possible in every state in the United States. You can get a legal separation. That's one thing. Also, Canon 1154 says, everything belongs together, and so someone needs to make sure that the innocent spouse gets all the stuff, basically. So the Knowles, I have a friend, my cousin-in-law is, hang on a sec. I got my crack pipe. My cousin-in-law knows Michael Knowles, and he's going to, he emailed him for me. We're going to see if we can get the memo to Michael about this stuff. Anyway, yeah, that's the Catholic, I keep saying this is the answer to the Pearl Davis problem, where all the trads are advocating marriage, but they don't have any way to solve the legal. This is it, Michael Knowles. The Catholic Church is the only solution to the marriage problem. You can't do it through the state because there's no contract. And they will not allow you to uphold. They will not allow you to continue with that prenup in the state, because the state defines marriage now. So Let's see. We're almost done with this video. Let me see what else. There's just a little snippet I heard.
Because the judge is always going to defer to the liberal political order, and in the case of liberalism, it's going to favor divorce. That's just how it goes. We have to fix that. It's a political problem. Next question.
Mm-hmm. He's right. Political problem. All we got to do is go back to the law, and the law is the Catholic Church. Sorry, there's no way around it. That's why you can't come back to the state to solve this problem. So Catholics need to kind of take marriage into their own hands. Let's look at a few comments real quick. Interesting convo. Recently, someone whose wife was SA'd. I don't know what that is exactly. I'll think of it. As a kid. Oh, okay, abuse. Admitted that if she would have omitted this about her past, he would consider his marriage invalid. No. As long as everyone knows where babies come from and how to make the babies, that's it. That's all you need. Okay. Oh, here comes something tricky. Yeah, that's great. No, smoking strengthens the lungs. Her childhood trauma hasn't affected her ability to raise children, so I told him that in reality, that it didn't affect consent. Their marriage would have been valid. Yeah, that's right. The only thing about the consent is it's the right over the body, and that's it. The Aquinas on this could take all day. Also, it's a little tricky to read. You got to get it right. It's not easy to repackage Aquinas for today's soundbite situation. It isn't, but it can be done if you do the brain damage and look at it real hard for hours on end. And I've got some of it down, not all of it, but I'm working. Oxygen to the bloodstream, use them for enjoyment. Well, I don't know. I'll have to think about that one. Okay. I think that's where the Mr. Brain, aka Skater Bro, that guy. Who am I talking about? The guy who doesn't like me, Timothy Gordon. He would have an answer for that. I'll have to think more. I'll add my thoughts in the comments. I don't have a brain that works super fast all the time, so maybe you got me there. What's wrong? Do you ever smoke a pipe? I've never heard that. Father Ripperger does. I mean, doesn't mean it's perfect because he's wrong about some stuff anyway. Sorry for that non-answer. That's not a good answer, but whatever. Hey, let's go back to this. Share screen. Monday morning quarterback. All right, right here. Now, let's go back to Pope Leo. Okay, every faithful person, every family, every community needs truth about their ecclesia. Okay, we already got that. Yeah. All right. We might ask ourselves, Jesus is the judge. Such consideration might appear as a first sign to be contrary to the binding requirements of justice, which cannot be waived on the basis of misunderstood compassion. That's right. However, when the requirements of justice are unknown, which they are today, which Cardinal Burke admits, because we can't define what those requirements are, because we can't define the essence of marriage, then all we have is you've got people who want to twist away the gates of steel because a man is real, not made of steel, and then you try to uphold the gates of steel, which is marriage law, and all we're doing is trying to keep everyone happy, and it can't work. It's a house of cards. Human judgment. We got to go back to the human way, as Devo says. Human judgment on the nullity of marriage cannot, however, be manipulated by false mercy. Well, it's always manipulated by something other than truth, because people want their annulment, and we are trying to judge whether we're using this gray area of love wins to determine whether it's real or not. Any activity contrary to truth must certainly be deemed unjust. That's correct. But see, they say this contrary to the service of the process of truth. That's like, it's like 2 or 3 steps added to the sentence. Okay. And it makes it a little bit trickier. It's like plausible deniability. In the proper exercise of judicial authority, that true mercy must be practiced. We don't have the proper exercise of judicial authority anymore because they have no definition of marriage to work off of. So it's all a big crapshoot. It's like abortion and compassion we must find that gentle balance, okay? And that's what the Mormons do, and now the Catholics are doing it with marriage. Hang on, let's look at a few comments. If I was really cool, like Sede Picante, I would be answering Twitter and doing this and all my comments at the same time. That's his little flex. Just sign off and you're good. Oh, yeah. Well, he knows a lot of stuff. The guy does know a lot of stuff. I like a lot of things he says. Seen the Pearl Lila situation, the porn, Tim Gordon took Pearl's side, not me. Yeah, I've watched a lot of that, actually. Tim Gordon took Pearl's side, not me. Pearl has some points, but Lila Rose has some good points too. They're both goofed up, okay? They both have good points, but they're both goofed up. Both Pearl and Lila. That's what's going on. And I think Tim would agree with that, but Tim's goofed up too. The only one who's not goofed up is me, okay? That's why I'm your NFP spiritual dictator. However, I always like to put stuff out here because if you can find me goofing up or you see a problem, I'm the one who's always like, yeah, you just tell me about it and we'll talk versus I'm going to hide behind my never talk to you thing. Who decides what is truth? Jesus does through his church, and that can't change, so it's been the same since 33 AD. However, Vatican II, or the spirit of Vatican II, took flight, as they say, and became legal poetry. And now the spirit of Vatican II claims infallibility, and we're all going with it. And because it sounds so nice. There's this hunger, like the song in the beginning. We have to, all we know is the way we feel, man. And that, if we don't have, if the gates of steel can be manipulated or they're not true, like evolution says, then all this stuff is what Pope Leo is doing. We're trying to keep annulment safe, legal, and rare. Okay? Because there's nothing objective about this McNulment. By the way, while I got Devo on the brain, let's watch this. This is kind of funny.
Evolution, is this correct?
I'd say so.
Yeah, and
hang on a second. let's go a little bit faster.
And
let's
what is that exactly?
Hold on. Let's go back to the beginning. Listen, this is funny.
These are all inextricably linked to devolution, is this correct?
I'd say so.
Yeah, and what is that exactly?
Well, once again, it's pretty much like it sounds. It's inverse evolution, entropy, things winding down.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Father Ripperger. It's entropy, or the genetic entropy. So they're onto something there.
We're regressing then.
Oh, absolutely.
At a dangerous rate?
Not dangerous enough. It just, things go.
Those guys are funny. Yeah. All right. People think we're evolving and we're getting better and we're getting smarter. No, it just Devo is right. This is kind of how they got their shtick. They are right about the devolution part from the genetic entropy. I forgot what other point I was going to make about that, but whatever. Let's go back. Here we go. Continuing. However, precisely the proper exercise of, the process of marriage annulment can be seen as a need for justice so deeply rooted. Okay, here we go. For that is so deeply rooted in the conscience of the faithful, and thus to accomplish a just work motivated by true mercy. Oh, no. So see that? We got to keep it all together. So we're talking to the Devo annulment crowd saying, a man is real. That's all he feels. We got to twist away these gates of steel and accomplish a just work. So we have to keep the steel, but we have to go with how you feel at the same time. And that, again, it can't happen. but never at the expense of truth. Okay. Like I've said 100 times, the people doing the annulments have no access to truth because they have shut down their minds politically also that good of the spouses is an essence of marriage. Therefore, what is subjective is truth. Okay? Truth is subjective. Your annulment is subjective because what you consented to is what we can't actually define. Yep. I think more and more scientists are starting to actually admit that this is the case, but it doesn't sell. It's not cool. Kind of like annulments and NFP we have been selling, but people are starting to figure out that they're not cool. They're not real. Okay. I recalled that, let's see, marriage is, oh, by the way, anybody out there, don't be shy. There's 31 people. That's amazing. That's good. You got a webcam. Tell me if you think your marriage is valid or some guy called me late last night. He's been on suicide watch, man. And he's like, I can't go on. He's got alienation from the kids and he's just being beat down. And he's like, what am I going to do? And I gave him the 3-step process here of quickly with rosary and daily mass and watch Father Ripperger and go to confession. But these guys are in trouble because once you start doing this annulment stuff, because it's not based on truth, the justice goes away. And this dude who's 61 years old called me late last night. He has no access to justice because I think his wife probably just bailed on him and then probably is getting the annulment or whatever. And he couldn't quite get a grip on it. Again, the devil is interested in suicide. And that's why your average 45-year-old white guy is like the highest suicide rate. And a lot of it has to do with the marriage getting cut out, which will bring us to our next Michael Knowles video in a minute about Gen Z and how they want something different. Okay, he's going to call Eastern Orthodoxy is the truth. You are descending from your own Pope. Okay. Eastern Orthodoxy is not the truth because it can't be defined either. There's no one who can the true church has gates of steel, the gates that cannot be you can't, what is in the Bible? The gates will not be prevailed against. No one can define where the gates of Eastern Orthodoxy are because there's no authority. One man's Eastern Orthodoxy is another man's different Eastern Orthodoxy, just like Protestantism. My own Pope can say whatever he wants, but the magisterium is infallible and it cannot change. So infallibility isn't necessarily flowing from the Pope's mouth all the time. And even if everyone says NFP is good, that's not, you can't contradict what came before it. Okay. So even if that's a whole nother topic, but popes can be all over the map and they have been, but truth is not, and truth can't change. Oh, wait. Oh, I thought someone was calling. Anyway, New England Anteater, when you can, get your little camera dusted off if you want to try, whatever. Okay. And like I said, we got to keep moving because eventually I'm going to turn into a pumpkin and people are going to be knocking on my door because I got a bunch of business to do. Vatican I says you have to submit yourself to the ordinary yeah, fine. Ordinary magisterium. Of course. You don't even need Vatican I to say that because the ordinary magisterium is infallible and that has a definition and it's everybody together and it's also can't be contrary to divine law. Okay. So if everyone gets together and says marriage has two primary purposes, that's not in accord with divine law, so it can't be infallible. Thank you, Mark Brown. That's what I wanted. That's right. Twist away the gates of steel, man. Okay, that's like all that's going on. I was amazed. Like I said, when I looked at that song, that Devo song, there is so many covers and a lot of really nasty people cover that song. They like it. Now, what else does Leo say? I recall that he recalled that marriage is a love that is total. Is that what marriage is? Marriage is a love that is total. Okay, if marriage is love, we don't know exactly what that is juridically. If marriage is total, we don't know total what? Total, we don't know. Give me a lot of money, okay? We don't know how much that is, but you have to give me totally a lot of money, all right? Totally. Now, this I think is, I can't remember. I can't remember what this quote is from. Let me read it and see what I can come to me. For this reason, a heart filled with gratitude and hope, I would remind all married couples that marriage is not an ideal, but the measure of that true love. Okay, this is Humanae Vitae. Marriage is not an ideal. Okay, that's another way of saying marriage is not objective, and that's what it is. But marriage is a measure of true love between a man and a woman. Oh boy. Okay, so how are we going to measure that true love? Actually, we can't. We just have to take our guess, which is why these annulments can't be founded in justice. If you say marriage is a measure of true, or marriage is a measure of true love for a man and woman. A love that is total. Again, we're back to this is all, he came from Humanae Vitae. Yeah, that is. Okay. This love makes you one flesh. No, love doesn't make you one flesh. The conjugal act makes you one flesh. You can be one flesh with a hope. Anyway, this love makes you one flesh and enables you in the image of God to bestow the gift of life. This is all poetic grooviness that sounds so good. And they're saying love comes first, then comes life. Actually, life comes first, and love can come as a result, but it doesn't have to, because the primary purpose is procreation. If we had all day, we could get into the Aquinas about this, and we'd have to be careful when we do it, because it's easy to mess it up. And I have some Aquinas quoted here down below, so we'll see if we get there. That's right. It's true. It's right in the Bible somewhere. I read it. I forgot where, but it's correct. It is. All right. Okay. Pope Francis, marriage is a reality with its own precise consistency. Well, truer words have never been spoken, but it's more gaslighting because no one will define its precise consistency, and therefore it can't. I shouldn't say gaslighting. They're trying to keep it all on the tracks. They say things that are correct. Like Planned Parenthood will say, babies are a beautiful thing, okay? Planned Parenthood says that kind of stuff. And we want everyone to be really healthy. And, they say that stuff. Nothing precise about the definition of marriage today. Nothing. At least the working definition that they're using. Okay. Discerning before the Lord. Oh, by the way, if there's a canon lawyer out there, that would be really fun. The canon lawyers are scared to death of me. I said something in the original description of this video, and that was the one thing that the tribunal is deathly afraid that you're going to find out about. While I'm on that subject, let's go to that answer right now. It's down here. Okay, let me tell you what they're deathly afraid, the tribunal, that you're going to find out about, because it pours cold water over everything and implies their guilt. Those are called separation courts. That's the one thing they're totally afraid of. You've heard you need to get a divorce first before the annulment. Divorce is not a sin. Only remarriage without annulment is. We're not here to judge fault, okay? That's all Protestant garbage. Listen, every diocese, your diocese, had a separation court in it. They all did until the late 60s, early 70s, when they stopped being used because it became obvious once you start saying marriage is love, there is nothing to judge because it's an internal determination that's private, nothing public, okay? It's like you can't call the police if someone steals your car because owning the car is a subjective internal thing, so we can't judge who owns the car. Now, look, here's some evidence right here. 1950, Our Sunday Visitor, Catholic Hour, blah, blah, blah. This guy, Reverend John Henry, was a delegate judge of the Marriage Separation Court. This proves that divorce is always a sin unless you get permission from the bishop, because they had to do the separations, and therefore the definition of marriage is the essence is procreation alone without love, because love can't be adjudicated. Next, here's another separation court. This is from the tablet 1950. There. See, pre-marriage conferences. Chicago had a lot of them. Chicago was big. Anyway, the marriage separation court existed. You can ask your tribunal, when did the last separation trial occur in your diocese? When did that happen? And their head will explode. They're like, it never happened. We don't know what you're talking about. This doesn't occur. No, that maybe happened thousands of years ago, but we're different now. We understand marriage different. Sorry, it was recent history and it disappeared because it does not compute anymore when marriage has no legal essence definable. There's nothing to separate. It becomes no fault. The only separation process compatible with the current definition of marriage is no fault. The current working definition. All right, here's another set. 1963, this guy. Marriage separation courts existed. The Wisconsin State Journal. All right. Now, I emailed the Diocese of Providence, Rhode Island recently, and it says in their website, can a divorced person receive communion? Yes, there is nothing in itself that prevents a divorced Catholic from receiving the Eucharist and the sacrament of penance. Oh, really? Okay. So when I look at the record of the Diocese of Providence, Rhode Island from it's 1952 or something, under pain of mortal sin, Catholics may not approach the civil courts to obtain a civil separation, divorce, or annulment unless our explicit permission has been given them to do so. So it's a mortal sin to divorce because it is objectively defined, the marriage contract. Once you have this new marriage covenant that Pope Leo keeps talking about, there's nothing there to adjudicate. That's why they say divorce equals communion, whereas in the not too distant past, divorce did not equal communion because it's always objective sin. All right. I could talk about alienation too. We'll get back to that. So there's that. That's the thing that's key, that these tribunals don't want to go there. They don't want to talk about it because it ruins their whole game. Where are we? Okay. Pleasant subsist in the earth. Okay. Discerning before the Lord whether the mystery one flesh is present which subsists for. Okay, this is more Leo. The awareness of working in the service of truth in a concrete union, discerning before the Lord whether the mystery of one flesh is present. It's not one flesh isn't a mystery per se. It's a metaphysical truth, but they're saying that this basically, you got a soulmate. Having a soulmate is a mystery because no one can define it, and you can't really prove it or anything like that. They do their best. That's what he's kind of saying. Which subsists forever, not till death, but forever in the earthly life of the spouses. Yeah, it subsists forever in the earthly life, which is till death. That's another way of saying it. Despite any relational failure. So this is kind of weird because he's saying even if the relation dies, the one flesh exists. Okay, that is completely true. And at the same time, if the relationship dies, they're saying there's proof right there that there was no one flesh. So it's a contradiction, man. It really is. So this is what they say. They're like, marriage is permanent, but everyone can get out of it. So they're saying two different things. That's exactly, Humanae Vitae does that. Humanae Vitae says, you can never do anything to prevent procreation except doing something to prevent procreation. Excited to get my Scott Hahn Ignatius Study Bible in the mail last year. Then I realized that every Bible after the DR has been heavily redacted. Yo, totally. $70. I don't even own a Bible anymore. I think I had one from Legionnaires of Christ a long time ago. And then I realized the same sort of thing. Heavily redacted and mixed around, especially Genesis. I just go to Bible Hub all the time and check it. I think my dog wants to come in just a minute. Susie Q, you want to come in? Come here. Oh, she disappeared. Okay. Let's see. Continuing with Leo. The declaration of marriage nullity is an expression of the service of pastors' authority to the truth and the indissoluble marital bond. Oh boy. Okay. Well, I guess I can believe that. It's an expression of the service of pastors. It's too many words. Basically, nullity is an expression of the service of. So they're saying that we need to go. What are those lyrics again from Devo? Give in to wait. We need to play the human way. That's what they're doing. Play the human way. A man is real, not made of steel. That's how he feels. Woohoo! Of course, they got to get healing. It's so healing to get this done because the healing annulment, as I've said before, is nothing but removal of divorce guilt. If you divorce, that's mortal sin. But not anymore if I can just get my annulment. See, it's an escape clause, but none of it's real. Okay. This pastoral care cannot ignore or underestimate the work of ecclesiastical tribunals. And the latter, the tribunals must not forget that their specific contribution to justice is a piece of the task of promoting the good of families with particular reference to those in difficulty. They're kind of saying that we have to focus on good first. It's because good is the foundation and truth is secondary, you might say, because good comes first. That's sort of wrong, all right? But anyway, if they want to promote good of the families and those in difficulty, they have to go back and do the separation courts. That's what they're there for. The separation courts would rout all the annulments because most of the causes of separation are frivolous, and the ones that aren't, they get adjudicated. They're like, yes, you must honor the debt, or yes, you must, I don't know, stop drinking so much. And when that happens, everyone has to move back together. And no, there ain't going to be any annulment because marriage is permanent. And that's the way it's always been. We'll have to get to Michael Knowles in a minute too on this. It's kind of cool. Good for you. All right, that's the way. The Dewey Reams is the thing, and sometimes other versions, other translations can be easier to understand, but no matter, you have to get back to that so you can find the real deal. Hide this. Okay. Yeah, I found the Latin Vulgate side by side, the English translation. Excellent. Love it. By the way, I've said this before too. All Catholic encyclicals use the Dewey Reams until Humanae Vitae. That got changed. Then they stopped because it won't work, does not compute. St. John Paul II said it would be impossible to lead souls toward the kingdom of heaven, seeing to it that the law and the rights of all in the church are observed. Wait. It would be impossible to lead souls toward the kingdom of heaven without that minimum of love and prudence that is found in the commitment to seeing to it that the law and the rights of the church are observed faithfully. People go to hell because of annulments. I did that video about how annulment seals your fate. Once you get going with it, it's tough to go back. And it's just like why sin makes you dumb and sin seals your fate. Well, you don't want to really follow your conscience when you got the new spouse. So much I could say to this. We'll just keep moving though. And like I said, the main thing I'm doing this stream for is so you guys call in. That's what I'm looking for. Let's see. In this way, you service as ministers of justice, which I myself shared a few years ago. Oh, yes. Okay, Pope Leo. Pope Leo. He's the annulment dude. He's done a ton of annulments. He's compromised. He can't go back. He's granted annulments based on, because he's a PhD in canon law. He's done these annulments based on love wins. I myself shared a few years ago. That's why it's tough. That's why it's tough for him. All right. He referenced Gaudium. Oh, hang on a sec. Here's what I've showed you this before. Here's Cardinal Burke saying there is no accepted description of the essential elements of marriage. Essence is legal. Essence is nature. No accepted description. Once you have love enter the picture, you can't define it. Click on that link if you want. It's all in the show notes. You can listen to him say the words. You can read the transcript. Gaudium 48. They mention a little Gaudium in here. But before we do that, let's go to the next Michael Knowles video. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. I think it's, oh wow, there's Pints of Aquinas. That gets crazy. There's so much I could get to. Here we go. Hit it, Mike. What do you got to say? I think this is about Gen Z.
Filter.com/Knowles. See representative for warranty details. Zoomers and millennials are going to church at way higher rates than boomers.
He's got perfect hair.
It's weird. It seems contrary to the order of nature. I have a theory as to why, and it's actually the same reason. It's because all the boomers got divorced. That's why. I know it's psychobabble.
How does that make sense? If all the boomers got divorced, now the Zoomers are going to church. Let's continue listening why he says that.
No, it seems kind of like anecdotal or something, but the plural of anecdote is data, and the data back this one up. I think the reason that the Zoomers and millennials are going to church is the same reason the boomers don't go to church, and it's because the boomers got divorced. And on the boomer side of things, they all got divorced. And I'm using divorce as just the clearest sign of political turmoil, political vice, because the family is the fundamental political unit. There are all other things that go along with that too. You know, the drugs and the kind of the selfishness in all sorts of political areas. But the divorce especially. Because I've noticed something. When people, especially when they get divorced, they feel ashamed, and that keeps them away from church.
They feel ashamed when they get divorced, and that keeps them away from church. I wonder why they feel ashamed. What could that possibly be? I wonder why. It's because it's objective sin. You're breaking the contract. That's what you're doing. You're not breaking the bond, but you're breaking the contract. That's why we don't talk about contracts anymore. And you didn't get communion unless you got the bishop's permission to separate first, and that's all goes back to Matthew 19:9, the exception clause for adultery, okay? Or anything that falls underneath adultery, like stuff that makes marriage too difficult to live with, right? That's all that is. Chris Stefanik, I wish I could find the soundbite. It's in his video with Carolyn Klicka. He says we must remove the stigma from divorce. That's because they're saying we can't judge anybody's sin. We can't tell who's sinning and who's not. Divorce is just something God hates, right? Because that's what it says in the Bible. No, you hate your spouse when you put them away, when you separate. That's what the Douay Rheims says. All right, Michael, go. Let's go.
And I kind of get it. Now, we all sin. We all fall short of the glory of God. If you've had a divorce or something like that, you should go to church.
If you've had a divorce, you should go to church. Okay, continue.
You should go to church. You should do what you can to avail yourself of the sacraments.
If you've been divorced, you should do what you can to avail yourself to the sacraments. That's true and false. You have to make public restitution for your divorce first. And how do you do that? You move back home, or you invite your spouse back home, or you get a public decree of separation, which is what everyone had in place in their diocese, the separation courts, which is all out the window now because love has come in the window. Michael Knowles is part of the Love Wins movement. He doesn't know it. That's why I was emailing him, trying to get him the memo, all right? Because he's an NFP guy. I haven't even mentioned NFP yet today, but that's where all this law, NFP has its tentacles in everything. You get rid of NFP, everyone's going to be hurting, pretty much. Menopause, pregnancy, during pregnancy, and then you got to have 15 kids, and it's like everyone's, and then you can't have your annulment, and then divorce requires permission. 98% of the people are going to be like, that's getting personal. No way. Get that thing away from me. We'll take the NFP. It's a major political problem. Huge. And
to repent and just do whatever you can. But people feel ashamed, and they pull away.
And rightly so.
And the political disorder, the profound political disorder that entered into society because the boomers, more than any generation in history, got divorced, and continue to get divorced, by the way. The boomers are having, what do they call it, gray divorce, silver divorce, something like that. They are still getting divorced at much higher rates than any other generation. Because of that, because of the...
Hold on, I want to see if someone's here. Just a minute. Oh, that's just my son. All right, cool.
Political turmoil and disorder that came about because of that. The millennials and the Gen Z see that's bad, and they want an alternative to it. I think it's the same thing.
Gen Z wants an alternative to it. That's right. All right, someone's calling. Let's see who this is. Just a minute. This is John.
Oh, good morning. I'm looking for the tires. Is that possible to come to your place today?
Yeah, come on over. I'll be here all day. No problem.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Sure. Yeah, I'm a custom tailor, but COVID kind of messed that up. So now I kind of sell used tires during the day, and people keep calling and coming over. So that's why we're trying to do this in the morning before all the angry mob for tires show up. Okay, I think we're done here almost.
No, it sounds kind of psychobabbly, but it's because it's more than drug addiction or, I don't know, financial selfishness or, I don't know, it touches on the heart of politics. And Zoomers who are so messed up, there's so much disorder in their political society that they're being told by their teachers that it's good when peaceful debaters are murdered.
Okay,
and they're being told.
I think that was all the point I was going to make with Michael Knowles on this video. He's saying that the Zoomers want something more because all the rest of them were getting divorced, and they want to go to church, and this is why I think this message is red hot. If I could figure out a way to connect it to people, but you have to cut through all the NFP politics, and it makes it really hard. So let's look at a little bit of the boomer drivel from Gaudium 48 that Pope Leo was referencing in his talk. Okay. By the way, let's talk tires for just a second. 225/70. Okay. I have like two tires that size. The studded is a little harder to get. I have a lot more that are not studded. 10-ply, of course. Now, hide. Okay. Gaudium. I'm on the phone, there. I'm doing the live stream. Yeah, my son's here. He's helping me put the tires away. I bring home in the big pile of tires, and he puts the numbers on them. The intimate partnership of married love. Okay, so what we have now, we're talking. What is marriage? It's an intimate partnership of married love. Anyone confused yet? It just sounds so good. Oh, golly. Okay, so a partnership is rooted. So they're basically trying to telegraph that marriage is an intimate partnership of married life. Okay, but anyway, a partnership is rooted, which means it's secondary. It's rooted in the conjugal covenant. The conjugal covenant, not the contract, but the covenant. So this partnership is rooted in the covenant of irrevocable personal consent. All marriage consent is irrevocable. I don't think there's anything such as impersonal consent. So they use a lot of flowery language to make you to kind of gaslight you, man. To go like, hey, who's there? Oh, here comes Susie Q. Come on in here, dog. All right. So there's that little town. I could go all into Gaudium. It goes on and on and on. It's just nuts. Maybe we'll read some more. Let's see. Maybe we won't. There's too much to read. What is this? What is this stuff? Is this? Oh, this whole thing is Gaudium. Anyone wants to go through it? This is what we need. Oh, mutual self-bestowal. No, it's mutual right over the body. This is what the Zoomers need. They want to get married, but they want something that they can actually sink their teeth into, and that has to be objective law, objective definition. And they can't get it from their bishop. So they're trying hard, but annulment proof to the rescue, I suppose, and others who could talk about this. Again, I can go into this. I can go into Gaudium more if we need to. Anyone wants to call in and ask what's wrong with Gaudium 48? That's like the launching pad for all of it. Okay, how about a little Humanae Vitae? Always. Oh wait, then there's Aquinas. Wow. All right, here. Humanae Vitae, God's loving design. Married love, two things, particularly reveals its true nature. Reveals its true nature and nobility when we realize that it takes its origin from God, who is love. This is trying to blend the gates of steel with a man is real. That's how he feels. We're putting it all together. So it's like taking nature and combining it with God. And this is why I've all this infinite dignity stuff, and why the conjugal act now is like it's another crazy thing. Father Mike Schmitz made up this quote that the more conjugal acts you do, the holier you get. And Thomas Aquinas says this. It's a fabricated quote. There's nothing about it. No, Aquinas says the opposite. It has to be done with the correct acts, or it's like fornication. Okay. From the Father, whose every family in heaven and earth is named. All right. Marriage then is far from being the effect of chance. Marriage then is far from being the effect of chance or the result of blind evolution of natural forces. Yeah. In reality, it is wise and provident institution of God the Creator, whose purpose was to effect in man his loving design. More weirdness. The purpose of marriage is to effect in man his loving design. That's like saying, it's non-specific. That's all. Yeah. What is his loving design? His design is an order and toward procreation. That's it. But they don't tell you that. They're just talking about love, the love design, man. Come on. We want more love, right? By the way, anyone who's watching have a question and they don't have time, you can leave it in the comments or put it in the live chat, and I'm going to save all the live chat and I'll get back to it. All right. So whatever. And I'll get back and I'll answer the live chat in the comment section like tomorrow or something. In light of these facts, okay, hang on a second. Is that all we got for, okay. Okay, as a consequence, the husband and wife, through the mutual gift of themselves, there's more gaudium right there. This is, when someone was talking to me earlier in the chat about Vatican II, this is trying to placate those who want to twist away the gates of steel. It's the gift of themselves, because a man is real. That's how he feels. So we need to give ourselves. Doesn't that sound better than just the body? We're going to use the body. We're going to, no. Because now you're saying, give me something which no one can define and you can't consent to. We'll just have to sort of try it. And we'll use a lot of fancy words to try to make it happen. And the reason why we're calling it this is because you're giving yourself when you deny fertility because your wife doesn't want to have 16 kids, okay? 16 kids, what do you get? Which is specific and exclusive to them alone. Develop that union. There's no developing the union. You can't develop it. It exists independent of any development. Like developing your baptism? No. Of two persons which they perfect one another, cooperating with God in a generation and rearing of new lives. Okay, so primarily they're saying marriage is about two people in a groovy union developing each other, and then that results in generation. No, the contract results in generation, and when you generate, that's where the perfection comes. That's okay. They're changing the order, but they're not coming out right up front and saying it. They're just couching it in a lot of language. Yes. Michael, there's several people. It's basically, who is it? Ascension Press. Those guys are bad news. Ascension Press. They say a lot of good stuff and everything, but they're Catholic Inc. to the max. And I got to find that. If I wasn't doing a live stream, I'd take time and I'd find the quote. Schmitz says, yeah, Aquinas, the marriage act is holy, and so the more you do it, the more grace you got. You're like, wow, cool. That's freaking cool. No, it's not cool. No, it's not. In light of these facts, all right, so hang on a sec. The marriage of those who have been baptized is, in addition, invested with the dignity of the sacramental sign of grace, which represents yeah, cool. All right, so the union of Christ in his church is just a sign, all right, but it's not the nature. And again, the only way to justify NFP is to call this sign actually nature, because you can't break the union of Christ in his church, obviously, and NFP is not doing that. That is, the signification is not a good enough reason for the act. That's what Aquinas says, all right? That is an excuse. That's why during menopause is venial sin, because you're saying, look, I'm just doing the conjugal act because it represents the union of Christ and his church. Isn't that cool? No, that's not cool. It has to be for procreation. And Aquinas says that if you're doing it for the signification of the union of Christ and his church, that doesn't qualify, because we're talking nature. It's nature and sacrament. You're doing it for just the sacramental reason. No. Part of why I do these videos is it forces me to figure this stuff out. And half of the time I figure it out on the fly, because I'm like you. Once this stuff ends, I got to go deal with a huge pile of tires and crazy Walmart people that don't speak English and getting their situation figured out. And it's like out of my brain. You know, it's hard to get here. All right. In light of these facts, in other words, now that we've gaslit you enough, okay, so hold that gaslight. The characteristic features and exigencies of married love are clearly indicated. Oh, the features and exigencies of love are clearly indicated. Okay, but they're not clear what they are, and it is of the highest importance to evaluate them exactly. Good point. We can't, you can, there is no exact evaluation of love. And now we're basing everyone's family on this exact evaluation of love, which can't be done. It's called the tyranny of will. When somebody wants out, they get out because they can. And it's really easy, because you can just say, this thing isn't valid. Matthew 19:9 says, if I don't think it's valid, I'm out. Divorce is not a sin, right? If divorce is required before annulment, it's never a sin. And if divorce is a sin, you can't require it before annulment. And you have to get excuse from the bishop first. So we've flipped from one to the other. And this is why everyone's kind of like bailing on the grave cause for NFP. If it's just nature, if you're just signifying the Trinity, if you're just signifying Christ and his church, why do I need a grave reason to do that? And that's what people are asking. It's like, what grave reason? No, all that grave reason stuff is like the only way to get abortion legal. Let's have it legal for rape and incest. Okay, we need these. And then everyone said, yeah, and if you can do it for rape and incest, you can have it for anything. It's about the principle. Okay, here's a little Aquinas. Let's see if we can digest that. Aquinas, since from the very fact that by the marriage compact, okay, by the way, Gaudium 48 up here called it where is it? It's compact of love. You have to take my word for it. Gaudium in here, I didn't do all the highlights, but it's a compact of love. That's what they call it. A love compact. For the first time in the history of Christianity, of Catholicism, that is, the contract has become a love compact. So this marriage contract, man and wife give to one another the power over other. Does that sound exploitative? Does that sound like love to you? Power over the other. I thought it was the gift of self. Okay, if it's the power over the other, then it's the power over the self. You have the right to the self of the other. And if you're not getting someone's self, they're incapable. So what if they're selfish? What if they do something that strikes you as selfish, as in the husband says, I have the final say, or we're not doing the marital debt, or I'm sorry, we're requesting the debt, then they're not giving their total self, okay? But it's the body. Dig it? Tell me, New England ant, I always call you New England anteater. Tell me what I haven't figured out, please. And if you have figured it out, help me so I can figure it out. Go ahead. Let me know. Faith and okay, marriage compact. Da da da. It follows that they cannot be put asunder. That's right. Okay, this is pretty cool. So the reason why marriage is permanent is because it's a perpetual right. Okay, and that perpetual right is till death. Obviously, that's why marriage is permanent, because you have a perpetual right over the body. It follows that they cannot be put asunder. Hence, there is no matrimony without inseparability. Whereas there is no matrimony without faith and offspring. So faith is another way of saying exclusivity. There is no matrimony without offspring. Wow, what does that mean? I'm going to have to figure that one out. There's no matrimony without offspring. That means you can't do the conjugal act unless you are pursuing offspring. That's what that means. If you're pursuing, you paying the debt is something that you're the recipient, okay? So the agent is pursuing offspring, and you can pay the debt. But both people don't pay the debt and avoid offspring. By the way, as I said, during pregnancy or during menopause, there is no offspring to pursue. That's why it's venial sin. And we're going to get to that in a second. This is kind of interesting what I'm getting to. Hang on. At least I find it interesting. The existence of a thing does not depend on its use. Okay. There is no matrimony without inseparability, faith, and offspring, because the existence, those are the three goods. Permanence, exclusivity, and offspring. There is no fourth good. There is no total gift of self. Nowadays, they put a fourth good on there. They can't hide it. That's what they do. Because the existence of a thing does not depend on its use, and in this sense, sacrament is more essential to matrimony than faith and offspring. So there's another tiny soundbite that is tricky to figure out, and it might take me 10 minutes of brain power since I have genetic entropy to figure out exactly what it says. I'm not going to bother with it right now. Maybe its answers here later, though. Secondly, faith and offspring may be considered as in their principles, so that offspring denote the intention of having children, and faith, aka exclusivity, the duty of remaining faithful. That's right. Otherwise there can be no matrimony without these two. Also, since they are caused in matrimony by the marriage compact itself, the contract is for kids and permanence, or exclusivity. So permanence comes with the contract because it's a permanent right. So that if anything contrary to these were expressed in the consent, which makes a marriage, the marriage would be invalid. Okay. That's a big sentence. Anything contrary to these were expressed. Today's marriage consent is contrary to what he just said. You're adding something contrary because you are saying that we now have the right over the others, not only their body, but we're adding the self. We have the power over the self, and the power over the self can never be handed over because nobody has in complete possession of themselves. So this is why consummation in the new understanding of marriage, the new application of the law, the Vatican II, the Spirit of Vatican II, you can only consummate your marriage at death because it takes a lifetime of giving yourself over. And if you give yourself, you've given your total self, death. I had a tribunal admit that to me. There's no way to consummate except death because you're consummating the object. If the object is self, total self, that's the lifetime of holding it together. That's what that is. So the new definition of marriage consent is contrary to what makes consent a marriage because you're adding this self in addition to body, and it can't be consented to. That's why they're all invalid, which is why the annulments are on demand. If things fall apart, it's invalid. Now, they try to hold it together, and they try to save face, and they don't invalidate every single thing. It's like if you can show a little proof, you can get it done. That's why it's turned into Catholic divorce. The reason why, again, I say that the tribunals are scared to death of admitting there were separation courts It's because they have to answer questions about why were there separation courts? Does that mean that the rights of marriage are defined? Does that mean that they are not mere civil effects? Which the answer is yes. Child custody, visitation, who gets the house, all that, those are not mere civil effects. All that is per canon law and per divine law part of the marriage contract. It all goes together. The only thing that's a civil effect is the tax filing status. This is what Michael Knowles said when he goes, we need to have a prenup. Anyone who divorces gets nothing. That's exactly right, because the church says that all of it belongs to the innocent spouse. So when you start saying that these marriage courts exist, then the whole jig is up. They can't annul the marriage on good of the spouses because marriage courts, the existence of marriage courts prove that good of the spouses is not essential. There's a quote, there's a soundbite right there. The existence of separation courts from, about the time Rubber Soul came out, that is proof that good of the spouses is not essential to marriage. Then, in order to fill in that soundbite, needs some explanation. I may or may not be able to do that on the fly, but I can in the comments, no problem. But I think I've already sort of done it, because you have to have then you have to have an objective definition of marriage, because you have to adjudicate it, and good of the spouses is not objective. Gaslighting has been going on for a long time. If some of the stuff you eat could be as flawed or more flawed than today's gaslighting. Yeah. Totally, man. Okay, so there was that. Okay, while we're on the subject, here's my theory, and I want you guys to help me out with this, okay? I'm trying to figure out a little bit of parental alienation. Now, the guy who called me, he was from Wisconsin. He called me Seattle time 10 at night. So it was late for him. I go, what about your kids and stuff? And I knew the answer already. He says, no, my kids don't talk to me. They get alienated. It's too hard. Alienated, this is my theory. Alienated children of divorce must forgive the guilty parent in order to be free of anger and resentment. Okay, so yeah, just like Michael Knowles says, liberal kids are like, it's screw your dad. That liberal girls, screw you, dad. That's where it comes from. So everyone has to forgive, and everyone, if they have anger, they have to forgive where the person who gave us the problem. But if neither parent or both parents are if neither are at fault, then the alienated child's forgiveness cannot occur, because there's no object to, he can't forgive because he can't, if one's at fault and the other isn't. Therefore, if you have to forgive both parents, then there is no fault. It's a little bit tricky, but I wrote it down so you can see it in the show notes, and if you want to comment on it. Okay. The alienated child's forgiveness cannot occur because the injustice cannot be identified. If both parents are at fault, then to forgive one means to claim that both are not at fault because one filed and the other did not. So I'm going to leave that there. Let's look at, until another tire person starts knocking on my door, we can try this girl. She's pretty good. Let's see what she says.
5 critical things good men need to know to survive their wives cheating on them.
No. It did the other thing. I pushed the
When
wrong
she
button.
threatens divorce, you need to have the courage and bravery to say, go.
This is important, okay? So a lot of guys, if she threatens divorce, they're like, okay, I see my kids getting trashed. Marriage is till death. We can work on our love language, all that kind of stuff. Don't do this. Don't. Okay. And one thing Father Ripperger said, I've said it before, the sin of Adam was he neglected to leave his wife. So the man has to actually, she's groping for some canon law here, which she doesn't even know. The and also the Bible says you're a simp and you're no good. If you hang on while she's trying to divorce you, you have to kick her out, and vice versa. In other words, or if he's trying to divorce her, she has to kick him out. She has to leave. She has to go to the church. You can't hang out and get trashed like this. Just like, what did Jesus do when the money changers were at the temple? Did he kind of go, well, I'm gonna lead by example, and I'm just going to love them more? No, well, yeah, he took care of business. Okay, when things are, I don't think our Lord Jesus Christ was excited to go do that. I was like, this is what I want to do. It's like it had to be done. Okay, so no one wants this garbage, but when it comes, you've got to handle it, and you handle it through, an ecclesiastical trial, the separation court. That's what you're supposed to do. And when the ministers of love there at the tribunal, like, we don't do that, you've got to go back and show them part of this video, or show them I'll put it in the show notes. Say, I want this separation trial like we used to have in Chicago. Let's keep going.
Go ahead. Get the papers drawn up. I will sign them. The reason good men want to have the courage and bravery to say that is that because they have built their lives around their commitment in their marriage. They have built their lives around their children and what they've invested into the relationship. It's become their identity. They're terrified of divorce.
So this is part of why the Bible says, husbands, act as though you have no wives, and wives, act as though you have no husbands. So you have to detach a little bit from this stuff. And yeah, you meet these people who are like, oh, it's all about my spouse and my relationship. No, it's not. And that's why the Pope, Paul VI, said, yeah, marriage exists independent of love. So she's correctly saying that, typically the guy, the husband, he puts everything into this gig, all right? And then she pulls out the rug and wants to do this divorce. Is insane. And he's like, how do I change gears? Newsflash, the Catholic Church is there for you. You have to go back 50, 100 years to get the real deal, okay? That's why I'm here. You bring law into the picture. Sorry it's come to this, but you may not be interested in war, but war is interested in you. And 80% of the time, it's she that brings the war. So you better get ready. You can't just be like, wow, we're going to try to love our way out of this, or we're going to do, no. And yes, if you're totally secular, you get ready with your lawyer, and you get ready for divorce, and you get ready with the new wife, and you do all that. But if you're Catholic, you get ready with detachment, and you get ready for white martyrdom, and you get ready for canonical separation. And you do that even if everyone tells you no, even if everyone tells you we're not going to do that for you. Too bad. You have to go with truth. Just like the saints who get martyred. They have to go with truth, even though everyone's saying, come on for fellowship. The hierarchy have washed their hands. They don't want to be involved just for the no-fault love wins annulment. They've been trained that way, and like Pope Leo XIV, they have blood on their hands because they've all tasted annulment. They've all broken up families based on love or lack thereof, and it's tough for them to go, wait a minute, we messed up. Just like a lot of people who, misery loves company. So all these guys who have rejected the law of God, they've twisted away the gates of steel. They want everyone to come with them. The demons want you in hell with them. That's the only way they feel better. People who are guilty, they feel, this is why there's gay pride parades and there's NFP Awareness Week.
And as women, we know that. And in our lack of commitment and our entitlement to break our vows so easily, we know the divorce and threatening a divorce is the leverage that we have against a good man in a marriage to stay in control, continue to have the power, and continue to be able to emasculate and gaslight him into being the problem.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I think women do like control. It's fallen nature. Your desire will be for your husband, it says in Genesis. What that means is your desire will be to wear the pants. And if he's trained to simp out and, quote, die to self and, lay down his life and keep sacrificing, then she'll like jump all over that and like it say, look, this is what I'm going to want, and here's how it's going to be, and you don't want me to divorce you, do you? And what are you going to do about it? Because I got everything in my court, the courts, for example, and I'm going to get the house and the kids, and you know, so you better. What are you going to do? You're going to do nothing, and I'm going to watch it happen because girls will do that. Now, with the church, you go, okay, I'm going to accept my white martyrdom here, but I'm going to abide by the law. Just because my bishop has twisted away the gates of steel because he says a man is real, that's how he feels, and that's what wifey poo is doing here or something. I'm not playing that, and I'm going to stand with Catholic truth, so I'm going to pursue canonical separation. Even if everyone tells me I can't, I'm going to keep educating myself and knocking on that door at the tribunal and show them the history in black and white, which I already showed you, and it's in the show notes.
So when a good man is able to say go, it takes that leverage away. When a good man is able to say go, it takes that leverage away. Good point. This is part of the prenup stuff where Michael Knowles was talking about. If you get nothing when you leave, people aren't going to do it. All right. Now, the Catholic Church teaches that the innocent spouse gets everything. And if everyone knows that up front, you go to hell if you divorce without the bishop's permission, and the marriage is valid because if you could make a baby, it's valid. That's all you need, the capacity to do. If everyone knows that, there's your prenup, and you only marry somebody who has a healthy enough fear of the Lord that they're not going to mess with this, okay? But everyone has to know up front. But if nobody knows it up front and they just listen to Ascension Press and Father Mike Schmitz and everybody else in Catholic Inc. and maybe a little Michael Knowles, they'll be like, well, you know, push is coming to shove and no one's getting in my way over on shove, so I'm going to just do that. So again, this lady makes a decent point. And the solution to it is divine and canon law that no one talks about today. But it's still in the new code. They're not even talking about it. They won't even go there. That's why I was hoping to make a video earlier, like I said, earlier in the day, like today. Maybe there's a canonist who wants to talk. I seriously doubt it. I can hardly get them on the phone. They run the other direction because I will point this stuff out. And they're like, uh-oh, we're in huge trouble. It's like being a whistleblower at a company. Like, what if you called Elon Musk and find out that all his Teslas cause brain damage because of the batteries, and you have the report? He'd be like, who are you again? I got to go. Something like that, okay? It's a terrible analogy, but it's even worse than that. The amount of carnage that has gone on because of this revolutionary error, as Pius XII called it in 1944, making love wins, it's like the story of our age, but no one's really going there. I'm trying to uncover it, okay? And that is hopefully the part of the solution or for this new generation. If you're going to do marriage, get a handle on what it is, and you can't talk to the JP2 generation to get a handle on it. You can't, and you've got to learn it on your own, or someone who are telling you the stuff I'm telling you, or even the new wizards of Aquinas are trying to spin Aquinas into the modernism. So you got to use your head on this. But again, it's just got to be objective. I say so much in my other videos. I think I got one other. And I'm still talking because I'm waiting for that caller. Number 2, no tire people have shown up yet. There's one other video. Is there someone here? Nope, not yet. Okay. We can talk to Mr. Daily Wire himself. Check this out. What is he going to tell? Oh, and Jason Everett, I think it is.
So they're actually channels. You have like a page, We're all at different stages of knowledge. All right, Anonymous asks, as a divorced Catholic mother going through the annulment process, I want to help other women who are struggling with that final question, do I end this marriage or continue suffering? What's the litmus test for whether the Catechism 2383 applies? 2383, the separation of spouses while maintaining the marriage bond can be legitimate in certain cases, provided for by canon law. If civil divorce remains the only possible way of ensuring certain legal rights, the care of the children, or the protection of inheritance, it can be tolerated and does not constitute a moral offense.
Yeah, that's the only loophole in the Catechism that everyone points to. If it's the only possible way. Oh, it's my only possible way. I've decided. Okay. Separation is the only thing a Catholic can do. A Catholic can never divorce. They can only separate. Well, that's all I'm doing because the bond remains, right? Yeah, but there's also scandal because you're saying publicly through the process that I'm no longer Mr. or Mrs. So and so. Also, the contract is only adjudicated by ecclesiastical judgment. That's why you have to have the bishop's permission or it's mortal sin. But because if it's a love compact now, that's out the window. They just look hard the other way. So, by the way, there's legal separation available in all 50 states. Even the ones that say they don't do legal separation, they do under another name. You can get legal separation and stay civilly married. Every state, you can do it. Every divorce is public grave sin. And every divorcer without the bishop's permission is ineligible for communion. There's no way around it. This has to be the process or marriage is dead. There's no other way.
Ooh, I mean, how do you know? Obviously, you have to take it to God in prayer first.
Hold on. StreamYard doesn't click link. Hold on. Well, here, I'll look at the link right now. Wait just a minute. Invite. Okay, there's the link right there. Okay. Now, try that. There it is. See if that works. Go ahead.
Foremost. Secondly, to find a really good spiritual director to help you through. If you look at any king, prime minister, president, they always surround themselves with a cabinet of advisors to give them advice on foreign diplomacy, economic affairs, military intelligence. If they know how to listen well, they'll govern wisely. And so I think in the same respect, when you're making such a monumental decision.
Can anyone just click on the link to call in, even if you have nothing to say? Just I want to see if it works, because apparently this link isn't clickable, I'm hearing. I don't understand. I have no idea why. No idea. It says it right there. StreamYard. Should work. Should work fine. Try it. I don't know, my dog. I don't know. I do what I can. I have no idea.
As this, to surround yourself with people who you really love and respect. And if you're finding mixed opinions or everyone's like pointing this way, that way, that can give you a bit of reassurance. But really, it's got to be a decision that you need to make out of peace, not out of fear. But I really feel peace in the depth of my soul that this is the direction that God is calling me to. And obviously, it would have to be a pretty extraordinary means to have to reason to be able to have to go through a canonical separation process. But yeah, I think what she's saying is so true. There's so many people in the church that whether they've gone through a divorce or they've gone through an annulment.
So he just said, ask your mom, ask your janitor, ask your trusted advisor about their divorce. No, you have to ask the bishop. It's Council of Trent or you're anathema.
So they're somewhere in the process, kind of feel like second-class citizens in the church and that no one is ministering to them. So I think to the extent that she can realize that she is not alone in this and the more people that she can witness to, I think that fellowship really needs to happen. Because I've heard people say, I can't receive communion because I got divorced.
Why do you think people think that? No one says, I can't receive communion because my car got repoed. Nobody says that, okay? It's because there's no foundation. You can't receive communion because you got divorced because it's a mortal sin because you broke the contract. You broke the contract. You didn't break the bond, you broke the contract. Live the mailer. I don't know why you guys can't. I dangerous talk, fine. Yeah, I agree. If anyone wants to call my here, I'll put my cell phone number, and you can call my cell phone, and we'll put you on speaker. Watch this: 206-501-8910. You can try that. We'll put you on speaker. See if that works. I don't know why you can't click the link.
It's like, no. That's not what the church teaches. It's if you got divorced and you got remarried without getting an annulment and you're living in this way, then not receive Holy Communion. But like, oh, I just thought because we went through this and I had an abusive spouse and, we ended up separating, I can never receive communion for the...
I had an abusive spouse. Okay, that means that they didn't give their total self because they were abusing me or something. So therefore, I can't receive communion. You are a public abandoner if you don't get public permission. There's no such thing as private abandonment. It's all public. Yeah. Infecting the church is an understatement. That's right. I started to figure this out because that's what happened to me. My wife just bails and says it's not a sin. And the priest is like, we're not going to talk about that. Even at FSSP, they're a little shy about it. Okay. Again, you just got to go to history. That's why Protestantism cannot exist in history, and the annulment industrial complex cannot exist when history is looked at, which is the internet is messing them all up for sure.
The rest of my life, it's like...
But these guys are Catholic Inc. big time.
Oh, it just shows the lack of ministry going on between people in that state of life.
Could we just clarify too that...
All right, hang on, someone's calling. Vermont, go hello.
Hey, John, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, thanks.
So I think you're right about a lot of what you're talking about. I totally agree with you on many things, but I just don't know how you're so certain that some of your claims that are based on previous statements by the church are more correct than the current statements that you disagree with.
Okay, some of my you repeat that. You're unsure about. Go ahead, say that one more time.
There's a lot of gaslighting, and it's obviously there's a lot of BS nonsense. Obviously, annulments are Catholic divorce today in this country, anyway.
All right, hang on. I'm gonna put you on a conference call with someone else. Just a minute. Okay, I'm here. Go ahead.
Hello, John. I came to a place.
You're here now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll come out. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. So yes. Okay, you with me? Oh, sorry, I hung up on you by accident. I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, I got to go now. This live stream is over, man. We'll have to do it again. And now that I got you warmed up, and we got 36 viewers, and we got Chris or whoever this guy is. I forgot. Too bad. Duty calls. It's 11:02. Everyone wants me for the tire, so we're gonna let me turn off my echo here. Cancellation audio. Echo cancellation, and we're gonna bow out with a little song, okay? And we'll have to come back another day. But it's been really cool. Thanks for watching. And again, any questions you guys have, leave them in the comments. I'll do what I can, and we'll try again with a better link next time.